I started a TikTok a few months back because my students asked me to start it. I was playing around in class, and it looks like, I guess they figured I was going to be clowning and playing around on the internet, and I might every so often, but I became an educator because I give a darn about kids in particular, but people as well. I'm sorry, I live in the South and I got a couple of mosquitoes that found their way in here. Okay, anyhow, looking at my demographics, I got folks from 18 to 36 years old watching, and it doesn't surprise me. There's actually some females who watch too, because females a lot of times get it earlier in life than little dudes. That information is power, whether it's meant for somebody else or not. And I'm gonna talk about my black students for a second. And I realize some of y'all aren't students, but okay. I got a lot of Caucasian and Hispanic men who listen in, which is fine. I've taught Caucasian, Hispanic students. Okay, whatever, no problem. Because if people are educated properly or people have good information, it makes the world a better place. But just FYI for my young black men, you know, white folks and the Hispanic folks, they teach their children, get information no matter what. So while you playing that game, while you sleeping, while you're saying, oh, this man's too long-winded and this and that, okay, but these other folks are getting information. And the world is a competitive place. You better pay attention when people who have some information are talking. Now, that being said, I think this can apply to anybody. Whether you're a child, you need to understand this concept, or whether you're an adult, a young adult maybe, and you're learning your way through the world. Or maybe if you're a parent, maybe like a young parent, and you're just taking into consideration what might be out there in the world that people need to know, young people need to know. And maybe even if you've had this conversation with your kids and they aren't listening. But when we were kids, not saying that everything about each generation is perfect, but I know this much. Human beings are interpersonal beings. What does that mean? It means you were not designed to operate alone. You are designed to interact with other human beings. Now, I've had to, I'm not going to say study, but I've observed this trend with my son and with other kids. We used to get on our bicycles, go down the street, go play basketball, we could do this in random neighborhoods. We can be out of town for the summer at our grandmother's house in a place we didn't grow up. And at random, you could still go and just hang out with people you didn't really know. And for the most part, it'd be acceptable. Now, put that down until you are all the way out of this city. So, you just saw me interrupt my son playing on his phone, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Number one, y'all's attention spans are too short. I almost cursed just now. I'm not perfect. Yeah, I do sometimes. Y'all attention spans are too short. Too short to give vital information. Too short to understand what's going on around you. Part of the reason you see so many people getting shot and killed, yes, the world is a more violent place, but people don't freaking pay attention until somebody's right up on you. You on your phone on Instagram and somebody done blowing your brains out. Or you on the phone on Instagram and now you got robbed. You on the internet giving up your location everywhere you go. And now either A, people know where to find you, or B, people know you're not home. So now your house gets robbed. And what's happening with these phones and with this internet, it's robbing people of common sense and the ability to pay attention and the ability to learn. And what I'm also noticing is when people go into these virtual worlds, they get lost. And it's like it takes some time to come back to the real world. What interstate are you on, son?
61.
How you on 61 if that's the exit? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the exit, son. What interstate are you on? All right, son, there's two ways to tell when you're on the interstate. You'll see it in the middle of the road every so often. Otherwise, actually, you won't know. This is Interstate 12, and we're headed in which direction?
South.
New Orleans is south. We're going towards the North Shore. This is east. Keep going this way, it'll take you to Mississippi, then Alabama, then Georgia. West will take you back towards Lake Charles in Texas, okay? You have to start paying attention. All right, so the reason, obviously, like I've told you in many videos, if my son needs to know, in the house of an educator, I guarantee you, in some normal functioning households where mom and dad, or mom and dad, hopefully it's mom and dad, but you don't have enough of that anymore either. Hopefully, you're learning and understanding these skills. My son's still 13, he's got some time, but back when we were kids, we knew all the way around town at like 7 and 8 years old. Anyhow, you need to know what direction you're going in. You need to know what time it is. I'm gonna make a video strictly about wearing watches, because we're to the point where the only information we give a darn about is in a virtual world. I'm taking my son to football practice, and I notice when he gets off of that phone, it's like he's in freaking La La Land for about anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes. Now, at one point, it was just a conversation we'd have, and I would fuss and contend, and I'd say, hey man, you gotta put that doggone phone down sometime and put the video games down sometime. Now, granted, my son's, he makes good grades, mostly honor roll. In the years when, and I'll put it on myself as a parent, but in the years in the summer when I haven't adequately prepared him for the content ahead of the school year, because at his mama house he ain't gonna learn a damn thing because he just sits on the video game all the time. But in those years he's made some C's, maybe a D or two, but mostly A's and B's. And so parents out there, look, during this summer, here's what you can do to keep your kids moving forward academically. Get them on KhanAcademy.org. I'm going to be all over the place with this message. I'll come back and clean it up into different subject matters another day, and I'll separate it. But it's going to be kind of a rant because there's just so much to cover in trying to keep your kids' minds focused on being a productive citizen and living a productive life. So if you're a parent, KhanAcademy.org. It will basically, you can create a profile for your kid, you can create a profile for yourself to monitor their activity and their time. You can see what they know and what they don't know. Is it perfect? No, it's digital, so everything's multiple choice. But if they take a pretest, it measures what they know and what they don't know. It designs a course for them. You can select subject areas, even ACT training and computer coding. And I need to, I'm gonna have to up it from 30 minutes a day. I've been having my son work on it 30 minutes a day for math and science, but I'm gonna add an extra 30 for that computer programming. Because ladies and gentlemen, the world is turning digital. Stop playing the game and program the machines. You be the one to program the machine. And I forgot to put the quality on high on this video, so it's probably gonna be grainy. But at this point, man, if you're not here for information, if you're here to be entertained, you should have figured out this ain't the place for you. I'm not here to entertain. This ain't the damn circus. I'm trying to teach something. And we have too many children out here who are turning into men who have to then try to find their way as young men when they should be on a path to where they need to go as young men. We're going to add the computer coding to his curriculum that he needs to be working on. I realize school is about to start, but these are valuable skills, and the earlier you get started, the better. I'm also encourage parents, and I need to get better at it too, but we have to reduce the screen time. Our kids aren't talking to each other. They aren't talking to other kids. They're not holding conversations. So then they go in public and they look like zombies because they don't know how to interact with people. And And I'm going to tell you when I really got concerned about this. At first I thought it was maybe just my kid, maybe just his life experiences. No, one of my homeboys' kid, who I would consider astute, well-spoken, going somewhere in life, he hops in the truck and he's doing the same thing. He's like, I say, good morning, young man. I asked him a couple of questions. He's just looking around. What street are you on? Where are you at? How do we get where we're going? I don't know. It's because they're doing this instead of paying attention to the real world. This is dangerous, young people. And it's dangerous, parents. I don't claim to be perfect at any time. If you know something I don't know, you got a link to some information and you can help me, man, put it in the comments. Because as parents, it used to be where your kids could go down the street and if they got in trouble, their parents would call your parents or somebody else's parents would contact you because you had a network of people. You don't always have that now. So if the network is on the internet, and I understand, I do get this much about the kids talking on the internet. That's how they socialize sometimes because they may have situations like me where they've gone through a divorce and the parents are in different places and their friends are in different places. Okay, to an extent I get it, but that doesn't make you not human and make it to where you don't have to know how to communicate and interact. And for any kids watching, your parents ain't gonna be here forever. You gotta learn how to move in the real world. Now, for you young men in your, I'm gonna guess maybe from 17 or 18 up to early 30s, if playing the video game is what you do, okay, fine. But understand this, the world is a competitive place and it's changing daily. Nobody's going to stop and say after a certain age, how can I help you? Let me ask you, what is playing the video game doing for you as a man? How is it helping you to retire and leave wealth for the generations to come? How is it helping you to build up your income? I see a lot of videos online with men complaining about how they can't interact with the opposite sex. Well, duh, you're interacting with pixels on the screen all day. And then you complain about why women don't like you. Well, you don't know what to say, what to do, how to act, so forth and so on. How are you going to procreate if you don't know how to communicate with the opposite sex? You say you believe in God, do you pick up your Bible and read it? If you're not a believer, okay, I suppose that doesn't apply to you. Pick up an actual book and read it. Or if you just have to be on the internet, listen to the news, understand what's going on in the world, because the world is about to change, fellas. And some of y'all won't be prepared for what's about to happen. This society that you see around you is not guaranteed to be configured this way tomorrow. Can you hunt? Can you fish? Can you gather? Can you make heat? Do you have a way to communicate and to travel without a car? Do you get along with your neighbors? Do you know your neighbors? Do they ever see you? Do you know where resources are that you can use to get started on some of these things? Now, one thing we're lacking and that I need to get on is having a garden. We need to start that. I'm terribly behind on that, but I'm trying to build this economic piece the way I wanted to. And I'm so close to retirement and getting some other things done, at least on my first job. How many of y'all realize sometimes when you quote unquote retire, it's really just a tool to go on to another avenue in work, with another avenue in life with some extra money. You do 20 years in one job, you retire, you're really supposed to do 30, but you can take the short retirement. I'll be less than 45, so I can take that little money, but that's something I can use to pay the mortgage or whatever the case may be, and I can go on to something else, taking more skills with me where I go. anyhow, you need to be preparing for a different type of world. If you're not a Bible believer, or if you are, I suggest you read the book of Revelations, because there's a lot of stuff about to happen that people are not ready for, spiritually or mentally or even physically. That's another thing. Are you in shape? When's the last time you got out and jogged or lifted some weights or did some actual work? Even if you, there was one guy who was telling me in the comment sections, he's in the Army and he wouldn't do manual labor because they treat him bad in the military. Hey man, at least you got those skills. You got a lot of young men out there that don't have any skills and they got to learn them somewhere. And men have to realize everybody doesn't know what you know or come from where you came from. That's why I will say, if I don't know something, put it in the comments. Teach me something. I don't mind, because knowledge is power. But anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, get out of your house, put them games down, exercise real world skills, go somewhere. Go to the library, go to the bookstore, go to the park, interact with people. If you're a gamer, maybe you like the comic books too, go to the comic book conventions. They just had a free one at the library here, but you got to get out and interact with people. Social skills they're depreciating. They get worse if you don't use them. Depreciating is not the best word, but they erode over time. They reduce over time. You have to then remind yourself how to be social. And if you go for too long, I do believe that mental issues can develop because you're in your own head when you're designed to interact with other people. So I understand you're even on the phone if you're listening to this video. Okay, cool. But the real world still exists. That phone, that video game can't feed you. It can't pay your bills. If you end up homeless, you're not going to have any games to play. Put the game down, come back to the real world. The real world is still going to be here, whether you like it or not, when the false world is over.